All right. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Today is January 1 of 2025. To be honest, I'm actually excited about this new year. Ah, I'm going to be 30 this year. Man, I'll be entering the third floor for real. But some months are still left for me to get there though. But I'm grateful. I'm really grateful for all that has happened to me one way or the other and all that I have done so far with my being. So far, yeah, I'm grateful. 2025. Well, we thank God for that. Today, I want us to discuss lessons from past project failures. Now, as a freelancer on your journey, you will definitely have some failures. That is not going to be something you can bargain with. There are some projects that you take that would fail. Not necessarily for it being your fault. Some might actually be your fault. Some might actually be the client's fault. But in my own case, one thing I have noticed most importantly is is actually stubbornness. Yeah, stubbornness, especially from the client's part. Sometimes it's usually stubbornness. I'm not saying as the software engineer or the developer. I know I say this freelancer thing, but I'm a software engineer. I cannot talk about photography or graphic design. So I can only speak to what I know. As a software engineer, you would quickly notice that some clients can be stubborn, and that will lead to the project failing, and they may end up blaming you for that. Sometimes you have to eat it. You have to just take it. There is really, in the grand scheme of things, there is really nothing you can do about it. It's just, what do you want to do? One of the biggest lessons I've learned in my freelance journey, and I even apply it in my business, is don't make the project too big that when you are about to launch, you are now scared because it's too big. I have a client that I had because obviously I had to stop working with him because it did not make any sense again at that point. That was working on a project that was it was too big. It was too big, and I remember I kept on begging him. I was pleading, launch this project, even if he is not complete yet the way you want it. Launch some part of it. I was watching a documentary on Netflix on a developer, a real estate developer in New York that was building a skyscraper. And he did not wait for the skyscraper to be complete. He was selling the buildings, like the apartment, as he was building it. Like as he's building, he's selling it. And people were buying it. They were keen into his vision, right? And I could see the whole process from the beginning to the end, even when the building was completed and it was painted. By the time the building was even getting to completion and painting, there was no more units. Everything was bought. Everything was bought. By the time he got to painting, furnishing, and the final product, a very beautiful building, the entire thing was bought. You know, so it always baffles me when I see people that want their project to be complete in totality before they can launch it into the market. And from my experience, it always leads to failure because your expectations now gets too high, and most times the users you are trying to get, they may not even be interested in all those things that you've done, which comes to the second thing that I've learned from failures in projects, right? Is your users determine your trajectory. It's not actually you. There are some things that I had a client this 2024 that has just gone, that he wanted a project, and I kept on. There are some features that he wanted that were very expensive, and obviously for me, the money is not really the what I'm driving. I wanted the project to be done very well, and I remember I kept on telling him that he should launch this thing. Let's see if users are actually even going to be willing to pay for that feature you are trying to do manually. If they are willing to pay for it, then if you make it automated, it is becomes easy. But if nobody cares about it to even pay for it at all, then there is no point even working on building that feature. Because I remember that our issue then was when he said he wanted that feature and I told him the price, he was trying to bargain with me on the price, and he was trying to beat down the price. And I told him I do not negotiate that. That is the price. And he kept on begging me, what can I do for him? I said, there is nothing really I can do for him. He said he wants it. It's a very key part of the project. It's very important to the project. And I told him it is not. Truly, truly, it is not actually a very important part of the project. I know very big companies that do what he's trying to automate manual. And he was not saying he wants to do it in such a way that he has an advantage. And I was like, you can't have an advantage if you don't have branding. You need to brand. You need to spend money on marketing. You need to be able to get people to know who you are. That is when you can now say, let you do an advantage. He kept on bringing excuses upon excuses upon excuses, also that he will beat down the price and I'll develop it for him there. And I told him, no. What I will do for you is if you launch it and if there are 15 people that have requested for this feature and paid manually, then you know that is important and the money becomes worth it to you. And he was stubborn about it. Eventually, he agreed to pay me my price in the project, and I did the feature for him. Now, coming to see in 2, 3 months' time, nobody was interested in the feature, which I knew nobody would. Even though it is automated, the problem is that the money he's charging, it was not what they're paying. The people would prefer it done manually. I wish I can say what it is, but I can't. People would prefer it done in a manual way than in an automated way because people don't mostly trust, banks having direct access to their bank accounts or platforms where they can easily debit money. So I just gave you a hint. But all I said went on deaf ears. And to be honest, it was a very demoralizing thing for him. But had it been, I won't really say the project is a failure yet because it's still ongoing. But it is not the roadmap is really low and down. Is declining. I don't know if you get what I mean. So I wish he had listened because most times what I've noticed is some clients they don't want to listen to whatever you have said. I've had experience now of over 12 years. If I'm telling you that something like this is not going to really, and most times it's not that I don't agree with them. Oh. Do you get? I In most cases I actually do agree with them that maybe okay this feature is important and thereabout, but at least launch it first. Let people want it. Let it be that okay, V2 or V1.1, this is what we are bringing into the market. Let people get excited that it's coming into the market, as opposed to you want everything done. And that is the now I've said two things that I have learned from past project failures. One, people trying to get everything into their MVP, every single thing into their MVP. Two, people thinking for the users, thinking that what they are building, the users are going to pay for it, because they think the users will pay for it. It always leads to failure. Then the number three reason why one thing I've learned from past project failures, even dealing with clients and everything, is there are some times that um, thinking you are smart is not to your own advantage. I remember I met a client in 2022 that wanted a project for me, wanted me to do a project for him, and I sent him a project proposal. And he looked at I remember he looked at the project, he was like, he cannot afford this, that he doesn't want to do this, that, because the money I gave him was more than his budget. And I said, okay, that's fine. Now he went and brought somebody else to do the project for him. Then in 2023, around December time, he reached out to me again and said that the person that did the project for him did the project, but is no longer picking his call. He did not really do it the way he wanted, but at least it's working. But the developer is no longer picking his call. Is no longer um, 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 you know, communicating, and he doesn't know, there are some things he wants to change or update, but it's not working. And he wants me to take over from where the project continued. And I told him that I really cannot do that. He was trying to play a very smart game. You've now given the project to somebody else that has done it for you at a cheaper cost. Now you want me to continue the project. Do you see that that would eventually lead to your project failing? Because okay, where he because he kept on pleading and pleading and pleading, please, I should get involved in the project. I should get involved. And I looked at the project and I now saw that, oh, this project was built with Node.js, right? Hosted on Netlify and all that stuff. I'm not a Node.js developer. I code PHP. So I told him to go and look for a Node.js developer. He went and searched and searched. He said he could not find anybody. And I even referred somebody to him. And the person that I referred to him now came back to me and told me that the guy coded rubbish, that he cannot work on that website. Now, have you now seen that the money he paid for that is actually a web application? The money he paid for that is gone. The project that he's trying to do is actually gone because nobody can. The previous developer built it in such a way that nobody can continue the project. Only him can continue the project. So the money he was thinking he's saving has gone. The project has gone because the I think there was a major issue with the thing that had to do with a lot of database structuring. The only solution for him now is to build everything again from scratch. And 2 years has gone because he contacted me around February 2022. And he was informing me December 2023. Have you seen that most times all this urge to try and undermine the cost of a project or try and pay as little as possible for a project, it doesn't, in most cases, it doesn't lead to the success of that project. Because once, even if you get a junior developer that probably does not know his worth, it happened to me too when I was starting out in my stage one. If you don't, this stage one thing, I'm tired of explaining it. Start from beginning to watch the videos. I'm sure this is day 22 or something. When I started in my stage one phase, there are people that took huge advantage of my ignorance and my naivety, and you know, gave me very little money. But as I was growing in the business and I was understanding the business of what I am actually doing, I obviously started charging more, right? And when I started charging more, they kept on saying, I remember one of his famous quotes was like, this thing I want to do for him is more expensive than the cost he paid for the entire project. Because maybe they will call for like a revision or something like that. But I told him yes, because my skills are now expanding. I am growing. So what I charged you to build, if let's say the entire project I charge you 450 and you come with a new feature you want to add, and I say that the entire project is now 1 million, you'll not be like, how can just adding a feature to the project now cost more than what he spent on the entire project? Some people, but that is the simple truth about it, because as you are growing as a freelancer, your skills also expand, your skills also grow, you start to charge more, right? And as you start to charge more, you will now see that those people really did take advantage of you, because it's they are right also in it being that the cost you are charging them for the feature is more expensive than what you charge them to build the entire project. But if you look at it now, on a bigger picture, you see that he's not supposed to pay you that cost for that entire project. Let's say the entire project is supposed to be like 7 million, but he was able to pay you 450,000. That is why he's now looking at it that way. I don't know if I'm rambling, but I believe you understand what I'm saying, especially if you are a bit seasoned in the game. So there is nothing you can do. He will end up now seeing that the project he's spending more on features and all. And if he says let him find somebody else to continue the project, which is fine. I'm not against that. I'm always all for that. There is freedom in the market. So let's say he says he doesn't want to continue with me again. He wants to find somebody else to continue the project. That is fine. But what does that do? It first of all slows down the project implementation. Then it brings too many hands into the project, and it gets to a point whereby something might be failing. Like it happened to me once. There was a time a developer, sorry, a client said he could not continue with the project anymore, and because of what I charged him to do a feature, that he wants to find somebody else, which I said is fine. He found somebody else, and the person ended up messing the entire system. So what was working before stopped working, right? And he had already paid that person, I think 50% part payment. And the person was now saying the cost of that issue was from my own code that I did. So he was now, the other developer was now blaming me for why the thing was not working, instead of himself for why it is, messed up. The, Funny enough, the client actually believed him, and the client was now calling me and was now, angry. What the other developer said that what I did is causing the issue, and I was like, I've not touched this project since we finished. I mean, obviously, when we finished, it was working. So he was now, I think the other developer was so convincing that I was the reason why it was not working. So I now told him, okay, fine, let him come up on a Google Meet. I have the entire project on my local host, and it was also on a sandbox environment. Let us run it here. We did it there. And as we did it there, he saw everything was working perfectly. And the other developer was also on the Google Meet, and he did not know what else to say at that point. At that point, he did not know what else to say. And you see now that he's the one that was messing around with the project. And that was what saved me during that period, because had it been that I did not have that local host and sandbox, it would not be like I'm the one that caused it, which even taught me a bigger lesson that I should always have a backup of whatever I'm working on. I should, in case somebody gives the project to somebody else and they do rubbish, have a backup that you can use, you know. So most times having to be trying to play smart is not always in your favor at all. I know a client that met me later on that somebody developed a bill payment app for him and was stealing money from the bill payments app. And the client, I don't know whether he's doing big boy or what, he was not looking at his admin dashboard to always check, the mathematics of what is going on. It was later on, where the guy has stolen up to like almost £1 million, that he was now able to find out that somebody is stealing money from his platform. Then he gave me access to the cPanel to look into his software. And when I looked into his software, I actually confirmed that yes, it was his previous developer that was stealing money on his platform. You know, when I now start asking questions as to how did he get the developer, how much is he paying the developer, and trying to inquire more about what is going on, that was when I now discovered that okay, the him as the client was owing the developer. And the developer took matters into his own hands to steal the money. So I don't know why it is, but sometimes some Nigerian clients can always try to be funny, and because the developer was like he was owing me, but he stole way more than what the client was owing. So trying to be too smart or corny, I think corny is the right word. Trying to be corny when that leads to project failures. In fact, I've not seen any client that is corny that has succeeded. I've not seen one that has succeeded really on a project. I've not seen one. That is one part that I don't even know why people try to do. All those corny little tricks trying to be corny. I've not seen anybody that has been successful with it. So those are lessons from past projects that has failed that I have. Um, that's all I have for you today. Bye bye. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. 2025. Awesome year. Bye bye.